I came home without telling anyone because I wanted a quiet surprise, the normal kind. My flight landed before dawn. The house smelled the same laundry detergent, old wood, the faint metallic hiss of the radiator. A mug sat drying on the rack. Shoes by the door. Nothing out of place. My wife said he was camping with Grandpa. She said it fast, like she was giving me the weather. I nodded. Because nodding is easy when you've been gone too long and want to believe nothing has shifted. I stood in my son's room longer than I needed to. His bed was made. The dinosaur blanket folded the way he hated. The window was cracked. Open an inch. I told myself it meant nothing. Then I told myself that explaining things away was a real problem. The drive to the cabin took 2 hours. The road felt familiar, even if the people didn't. I thought about how many times I'd handed my judgment to someone else and called it trust. About how easy it is not to choose. The cabin sits back from the lake. Trees thick enough to hide anything without effort. I called his name once. I didn't yell. Yelling felt like asking permission. I found him behind the shed, then farther, back where the ground slopes down and mosquitoes reach you before you hear them. He was barefoot. His shirt was gone. The chain was thin but real, looped around the tree like a warning you could ignore until it hurt. "Daddy," he said. It didn't sound like a word. It sounded like truth. "Please help me. I can't take it anymore." I didn't look for someone to blame. I looked for the log. My hands moved the way they had overseas, quiet, precise. The chain came loose. He fell into me and then collapsed all at once, like he'd been waiting for gravity to change its mind. He'd been there 3 days. He told me later in fragments. Time doesn't work right when you're small and waiting. I wrapped him in my jacket and counted breaths. Because counting keeps you from making promises you can't keep. His skin was burning. The bites covered him, proof of how still he'd been forced to stay. "Someone's behind the cabin," he whispered, the same calm tone people use for weather. I hear them at night. I put him in the truck and locked the doors. Behind the cabin wasn't dramatic, no trapdoor, no blood, just a chair pulled where it didn't belong. Rope coiled and used, a cooler with ice packs replaced too often to be random. Control always leaves marks, even when it thinks it's neat. I didn't go searching. I went back to the truck and made the call. It was short. My voice didn't shake. When the dispatcher asked if my son was safe, I said, "Is now?" Because now was the only word that mattered. Authority arrived the way it should, visible. Procedural, undeniable. Sirens split the afternoon. Uniform stepped into the clearing and changed what it meant. Questions were asked, written down. Photos taken. A medic knelt and spoke to my son like his words mattered. He was wrapped in a blanket that wasn't mine. They asked about family. I gave names and didn't soften anything when they asked where my wife was. I told the truth and watched a line get drawn right in front of me. Grandpa was found before dusk, sitting where he thought no one would look. He didn't fight it, he explained. Explanations are just another way to ask permission. The deputy told him to stand and turn around. And that's when control finally moved where it belonged, at the hospital. My son slept with his hand in mine. Fingers still curled like he expected something to be taken. The nurse documented every mark without comment. Belief doesn't need commentary. My wife arrived and spoke like words could fix it. I listened until the doctor said visiting hours were over. Silence can answer without causing more damage. Paperwork filled the night, statements, times, dates. I noticed how comforting it is when forms don't care who you love. The law didn't ask me to forgive. It asked me to be exact. In the weeks after, people asked how I felt. I told them I was busy, which was true. Some routines had to be rebuilt, others had to be torn apart. Trust didn't break, it thinned, letting light through so I could finally see what had always been there. There was no victory. Justice was just a steadiness that returned when I did what I should have done sooner. Choose. My son learned how to sleep without listening for footsteps. I learned that dignity isn't loud. It shows up on time, does the work, and stays. Some nights I still pass the road to the cabin and keep driving. That isn't avoidance, it's choice, and for now, choice is enough.